I know you're in pain, but...
Bored now.
Same, girl. Same. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Horror Movie Syllabus. My name is Professor Victor, and I'll be your host as we go through all of the essential, noteworthy, interesting, and notorious modern horror films. If you're new to the channel, I recommend you check out the introduction video. There's a link to it in the description below, and it's going to give you a pretty good sense of what we do here at the Horror Movie Syllabus. In short, we look at a particular subgenre of horror, and then we pick 3 movies from that subgenre to explore. But this is our Is It Syllabus-Worthy series. This is where I take a movie suggestion from you guys, something that you recommend to me in the comments to one of my other videos, something that I've never seen before, and I watch it for the very first time, and then I let you guys know, is it syllabus worthy? Is there anything about it that makes it worthy enough of being on the horror movie syllabus? Today, we're looking at a suggestion from Ted Harrington, and the movie is Dave Made a Maze. And Ted recommended Dave Made a Maze in our Lovecraft video. And Ted's recommended quite a few movies in the past, actually. And the movies that he's recommended have been good to great. So Ted's got some goodwill with us here. And he gave me a list of extra credit recommendations for Lovecraft. So from that, I can gather that maybe doesn't quite fit the Lovecraft bill exactly, but still in some sort of way Lovecraftian in nature. And that's all I had to go on with this movie. I'd never heard of it. I knew nothing about it. I didn't know who was in it. And I didn't look anything up either. I didn't look up any posters, reviews, anything. Just went in as blind as I could. And did I like it? Did I hate it? Let's find out. Like I said, the movie that we're talking about today is Dave Made a Maze. Dave Made a Maze came out in 2017. And was directed by Bill Watterson, and not the Bill Watterson who created Calvin and Hobbes, and I want to be clear about that, because I kind of got excited when I saw that, but this is a completely different Bill Watterson, who has only directed this movie in terms of a feature film. He only had like 3 credits on his IMDb page, and this was the only feature film that I saw in there, so not necessarily the most prolific actor or director in the world, but he actually does have more acting credits than directing credits, actually, now that I think about it. But it doesn't mean anything in terms of the actual movie. We just need to dig into that on its own merits. And so we're going to do that in just a minute. First, if you haven't seen it before, the movie starts out with a young woman coming home to her apartment to find that her kind of deadbeat boyfriend has created a maze, a cardboard maze, in their living room, which is really looks more like a fort. And when she asks him to come out of it, he says he can't because he's lost, because it's bigger on the inside. Against his wishes, she invites a few other people to come over. They also go into the maze, and they also get lost. And they're confronted with a very strange, weird, imaginative locations, and hijinks abound in that maze. But we're going to go ahead and stop there so as to not spoil it for everybody. And the movie is an interesting premise. This concept, this idea of this guy making a maze in his apartment, and it being some sort of imaginative, magical labyrinth that's not really terribly explained, is a really unique and an interesting idea. It is admittedly an unusual premise for a movie, and that's kind of a cool, fresh feeling. It's a really unique start, and it gets right into it. It starts off right off the bat, the maze is made, and he's already lost in it. So it drops you right into that, which is cool. It's a little disorienting, I'm not going to lie, but it is a cool, interesting idea. And then you've got this really cool labyrinth that is in there. And there's a funny debate in the movie between whether it's called a maze or whether it's called a labyrinth. And I'm going to say labyrinth sometimes. I think I'm going to use them interchangeably. But the labyrinth has these really strange and neat rooms that they go into that are really wonderfully realized on a rather low budget. Frankly, this movie is clearly not a very high budget movie, but they've created some really cool sets that are, ostensibly made out of cardboard, but look really neat and really imaginative. That's the word I keep coming back to. And it's a word that gets used a lot in the reviews for this movie, frankly. There's a lot of positive reviews of this movie, and almost every one of them talks about the set design of this movie. And I think it's warranted. The set design is pretty cool. I'm not as enamored of it as the people in the reviews are, but I gotta admit and give it credit that it is pretty cool right off the bat to have these really strange, imaginative sets for this very strange, imaginative movie. And that is probably the biggest selling point of the movie, is how strange and unusual and weird and unique it is. When you look this movie up on Wikipedia, which I didn't do until after I watched the movie, it describes it as a fantasy, adventure, comedy, horror. And yeah, I suppose that's accurate. It's kind of all over the map in that sense, that it defies categorization, for better or for worse, frankly. Like it really is trying to do something different and not be pigeonholed into one sort of thing. Now, on that note, it is light on the horror aspect of it. So in terms of categorization, horror is a little bit of a stretch, to be honest with you. There is some gore and violence in this movie, but we'll get to that in a little bit, because it's not what you're thinking at all. And it is a hard sell for a horror movie, but that never stopped me from looking at something on some of the syllabus before. I'm pretty broad-minded when it comes to that. So we want to call this a horror? Sure, why not? The movie does have a really interesting cast of actors, and they are giving it their all. They are fully committing to the roles, again, for better or for worse, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute as well. But in particular, Mira Rohit Kumbhani, and I hope I'm saying that name right, is excellent as the girlfriend in the show, in the movie. She is probably the best character and the best actor in the best performance in the show, in the movie. And so it really did bear mentioning, or is worth noting, that she's quite good and likable in the show. And that's the key. She's very likable as the girlfriend in this, because my problem is that pretty much every other character in here is very unlikable. The main guy, Dave, who you don't even see for the first chunk of the movie because he's lost in the maze, is unlikable right from the start. You can just get the vibe right off the bat that he's kind of a shiftless, kind of deadbeat, kind of losery guy who's not really got his act together. And he's being rather demanding and obtuse. He's talking very casually about being lost in this magical maze. And you'll see that that's a theme that goes throughout the movie, that everybody kind of treats this situation as not nearly as strange and shocking as it should be. And I gather that's for laughs. There's a lot of comedy in this movie, and that's supposed to be part of the joke. And I get it, but it is weird, and it takes some getting used to. And the first one you see doing it is Dave, and I don't know, he rubbed me the wrong way right off the bat. And pretty much everybody else that came in did as well. Noteworthy, Adam Bush from Buffy the Vampire Slayer shows up, and I thought, great, he's a guy I'm going to like, because I liked him from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He's a good actor, and it's not that he's doing a bad performance. Nobody's really doing a bad performance here. They're just not very likable characters. They're not even like terrible like a-hole characters or anything like that. They're just people I don't like. I don't care about them. They're self-involved and caricature-y and kind of annoying, frankly. There's a documentary filmmaker that gets invited over, like a friend of theirs, who's trying to make a documentary film about this whole situation, who is particularly annoying. He's, if you ever watch The Office, he plays Dwight's friend on The Office, the one who's kind of like really hostile and stuff like that. And I don't know if I brought that baggage in with it, but I find him to be particularly dislikable in this movie. I found him very off-putting. And the fact that there is no real reason for this maze to happen, and no real good reason, it seems, to just kind of tear it down. I mean, they kind of give a reason, like it kind of the interior is structurally unsound and Dave might get hurt or something like that, but you don't really understand why these characters believe that, and don't just like knock the damn thing down. Like the motivations of the characters are very strange. Like I said, they all just kind of roll with this magical, strange labyrinth, and they all just want to kind of go into it and check it out. And I get, once they're in it, I get that, where they're all just kind of like mystified, but I don't understand why they're so mystified by it before that, why they're so comfortable with it and not shocked by it, and not put off by it or scared by it. It's a strange thing. And again, I'm convinced it's being played for laughs. It's being played to be absurd and strange and illogical, and that's fine, but it wasn't really kind of hidden for me, to be honest with you, because the whole plot of the movie kind of hinges on there being some sort of drama to this that isn't really there. There's a flimsy plot here. This guy, Dave, has made a maze. His girlfriend comes home, and she's kind of annoyed with him because he spent his whole day making mazes instead of getting a job or whatever. And then they're all going to go and try to save him in this maze. But I don't care about Dave, and I don't care if they save him or not, and I don't care about any of the people trying to save him except maybe his girlfriend. So I don't have any investment emotionally or otherwise in these characters and what they're trying to accomplish, and that's a problem. And I get that you're trying to make it kind of a funny, absurdist comedy, and the stuff not necessarily supposed to make sense. I'm supposed to just roll with that. But if I'm not invested in it, then why am I rolling with it, right? That's kind of the problem I'm having. Like, it's not making me laugh. It's kind of annoying me. I don't really understand why anybody's doing anything, why anybody has the patience for this, because I don't have the patience for this. That's the thing about this movie is there are some interesting setup things here going on, some interesting ideas, and some interesting sets, but there's too many things that aren't working for me in this movie. Like I said, it's trying to be funny, but the comedy for me, very hit and miss, mostly miss, if I'm being honest. Like it's not really, hitting for me. The jokes do not land, at least for me. They just don't. There are these Rube Goldbergian traps in the maze that would be really cool. This would be the highlight of the movie, and probably technically is the highlight of the movie, such as it is. But they would be so much cooler if they kind of made sense. Like when you see these kind of Rube Goldberg situations happen in movies like Final Destination or whatever, you can logically figure out the path of the trap and how everything kind of the dominoes kind of fall to trigger that trap. It's not really the case in this movie. They just kind of happen, and so they're not nearly as suspenseful or interesting because of that. So they kind of fall flat. Now, they do lead to some fun gore, and I say fun quite literally because instead of blood and guts, you get yarn and confetti is like blood splatter basically. And I thought that this was really a cool and imaginative idea. Again, imaginative because A, they probably didn't have the budget for gore effects, frankly, and B, because it really like dovetailed nicely with this surreal, supernatural, magical fantasy world that they're in this labyrinth. It really worked out like nicely that they were able to find this clever way to sidestep budget and also enhance the whimsy of the maze. That was really cool, but not cool enough. I needed more stuff like that, and they didn't give me more than that. What they gave me was a group of, frankly, insufferable hipsters that I did not like. I didn't relate to them. I didn't care for them. I struggled with them in the movie, their motivations, their attitudes, the things they would say. And again, I think the movie's trying to make caricatures of them, kind of lampoon them a bit, and kind of, mock their self-involvement and their priorities being all messed up like that. I appreciate that notion, but it didn't shine through enough for me. I guess I needed it to be a little bit more heavy-handed in the satire, if that's really what it's trying to do. Alternatively, it could be that the director just invited a bunch of his friends over who are, all aspiring actors or whatever, and just let them kind of play versions of themselves, because that's kind of what it felt like. And I think that's the thing. This didn't feel like a bunch of actors trying to like lampoon or send up the hipster culture. It felt like a bunch of hipsters showed up and made a movie. And I wasn't terribly interested in that. I don't know that that's necessarily the case. Like, again, Adam Bush is in there. He's, an actor I know. And so I don't think that's the case. I think it's actually actors doing really good performances, convincing me that they're actually hipsters and stuff. But maybe too good? I don't know. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe the performances were too good because I was put off by everybody. And again, Dave, the lead character, is really just, even when you finally get to meet him, stuff like that, there's not really anything redeeming about him. In fact, again, the only one I really liked was the girlfriend character. She seemed to be reacting the most logically, and she was kind of my anchor character. She's the only one I related to and was kind of walking me through all this. And again, the walking through is pretty neat. Like the maze itself looks pretty cool. Again, factoring in low budget, no real effects, anything like that. Just kind of ingenuity and really cool set design. Looks pretty good. But this movie doesn't have a lot of meat on the bone. It doesn't have a lot to go on other than variations of these maze rooms that are cool. But after a little while, okay, I've seen this and I need something more. And there's some other surprises in the movie and stuff like that, but none of them really, I don't know, I guess I just kind of lost my interest at this time. Like I really had been failed to be sucked in on this, and it was a problem. But was it a big enough problem to not make it syllabus worthy? Well, hold your breath as we find out. So, Is Dave Made a Maze syllabus worthy? Absolutely not. No way. Not at all. This movie never really grabbed me, except for maybe like the first couple of minutes when the premise was introduced. I was a little bit drawn in, and then it just kind of never delivered on that. It piqued my interest slightly at the beginning, and then never kept me engaged after that. I got bored. I got bored fairly quickly with this movie, and it never managed to draw me back in at all. In fact, it started to make me a little angry. The movie actually started to make me a little bit angry because these characters, again, I'll use the word again, insufferable. It was so hard to watch these people. I just very much did not like them. They put me off so much. And that's, to me, probably the biggest issue I have with the movie. Again, the premise, not bad. They didn't do enough with it, in my opinion. But it's not a bad premise. It's very unique, very interesting. And again, the set design looked good. I don't think the actors are bad actors. I just didn't like the characters at all. And then the plot was thin. If I'm not enjoying the characters and the interplay between them and the comedy, then you better have something in the story that's going to draw me in, something that's going to keep me engaged, some stakes involved. And this movie didn't have it. I didn't care. I didn't care about what was going to happen. And to say that this movie is Lovecraftian almost feels a little bit blasphemous, as I like Lovecraft stuff. There's, I get the notion, the idea behind this kind of like unexplainable, like hard to identify thing that they're confronted with in this maze. I get the idea behind it, but the execution on this one is leaves so much to be desired that I wouldn't even want to say the word Lovecraft around it, to be honest with you. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I kind of hated this movie. Like, I kind of hated it, and I don't think I've ever said that about anything we've watched for Is It Syllabus Worthy before. This movie really just did not sit well with me at all, and it's weird because Ted has, again, I've said it before, he's recommended many movies, and they've all been either good or really good, and so this one kind of comes as a bit of a surprise. Like, some of the other movies that he's recommended that I did not put on my list is because they're already on the horror movie syllabus, or they're going to be on the horror movie syllabus. I've already seen them, and I already think they're good. So Ted's taste overall, solid, like dependable, but not today. Not with this one. This might be the worst movie we've done for Is It Syllabus Worthy. I would struggle to think of another movie that I enjoyed less than this one. There's other movies that I haven't been I've been lukewarm to or haven't been too enamored with, but this one I actively disliked. So Ted, you get the dubious honor of having picked so far the worst movie for me to review. And I reviewed Necrophiles and Amityville Vibrators, so that's saying a lot. Congratulations, Ted, for this. But by all means, keep making recommendations because, again, most of it's been really good. This one, not so much. So that's my thoughts on Dave Made a Maze. It's a miss for me. This one got lost in its own maze. I did not feel this at all. I imagine, though, that I might be in the minority because, like I said earlier, the reviews on this are largely pretty positive. So if you've seen it and you think it's really good, defend it in the comments below to me. Let me know what it is that I'm missing about it, because for me, it was a slog of an experience. I really struggled with this one. I didn't want to finish it, but I did just for this video. So you guys let me know. What am I missing? And if you guys agree with me, of course, I'd love to hear that. So leave your comments below. Tell me about Dave Made a Maze from your perspective. And now it's time to give you my perspective on a horror trivia pursuit card. As you guys know, I like to read a question here live on camera, try to answer it, and hopefully not embarrass myself. And for Dave Made a Maze, let's go with the psychological category, because it's, I guess, kind of a psychological horror, I guess. I'm stretching that one, but let's just go with this. So here's the question. By the end of 2016's Split, how many personalities does Kevin Wendell Crumb exhibit? I'm not sure. Okay, I'm going to tell you right off the bat. I'm not sure, but I have a guess, and I think my guess is pretty good. We have talked about Split on the channel. I love Split. Love it so much. I went and saw that movie and was so surprised by the twist ending. And I was so excited about that. I called my friend right after I got out of the theater and was like, you got to go see this right now. I really love that movie. And I love it for a lot of reasons, not the least of which was the performance of James McAvoy, who plays Kevin Wendell Crumb. And I only remember the name Kevin Wendell Crumb because the question just gave it to me. I would have no idea what his name was. I would have called him James McAvoy. But if you don't know the movie, small spoiler, he is suffering from dissociative identity disorder. He has multiple alters, and They are not all explored in the movie. There's only a handful explored in the movie, but there are more. And they actually say how many there are in the movie. And I think I remember. I'm not positive on this. But there's only like a handful of them that actually interact a lot in the movie. You don't see much more than glimpses of the other ones, if at all. So like if you're counting them up, like if you've seen the movie and you're counting in your head how many different performances McAvoy's giving, which he's great in all of those. It's really a great performances. Yeah. But that's not the way to go. There is actually more alters than are shown in the movie. So lock in your answer if you don't know, guess. I'm 90-ish% sure I've got this just because I've seen it enough times. I kind of remember this, I think. I don't know. See if I can embarrass myself. Lock your answer in. You're good? Okay. So my answer is 23. I think it's 23. There's a scene where where Anya Taylor-Joy's looking at his computer, and there's like all these different files of the different alters making videos and stuff like that. And I think it's either said by the doctor or it says it in the file, something like that. I think it's 23. I'm feeling okay about that answer. So 23 is my answer. And let me just check the card. 24. 24. And that's tough. Let me look at this question. So how many personalities does he exhibit? 24. So I'm wondering if I'm right that it says 23 in the movie because the 24th one would be Kevin Wendell Crumb, the original person, and that would be the 24th. Because if that's the case, I'd feel a little vindicated. But I technically got it wrong. I'm not going to give myself credit for that because it's not the right answer. So close, but no cigar. Did you guys get this one right? Have you guys seen Split? Because if you haven't, I highly recommend checking it out. But let me know if you guys think that this movie, Dave Made a Maze, is good. Let me know if there are other movies, better movies, that I should be checking out that I haven't seen before. If you do, maybe I'll do a video on that one instead, and hopefully it'll go a little bit better than this experience went. But until then, I'm just going to say, class dismissed.